Good morning. I'm glad you're able to join me this morning. Uh, Let me share with you what I'm doing. I have asked friends and family for their go to verse, their favorite Bible verse, if you will. Uh, and each week I am going to read that passage, that verse, each week, or each day of that week. And the person that submitted it to me, I'm going to include them in my prayer time, specifically for them, for their needs, for any struggles that they might be going through. So um, I've got probably a dozen and a half verses. That means I've got lots of weeks left. So put it down in the comments. Your favorite verse. If I don't acknowledge it, it means I have not seen it. So feel free to shoot me a message or something of that nature. So let's go ahead and this first verse is from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. It was submitted, and I have taken these only in the order that they have come in. It was submitted to me by my niece Jennifer. Um, so I would like to share a little bit about Isaiah 40:31 with you. Slowly he rose, and the crowd fell silent. Those at the back leaned forward, straining to hear. The atmosphere was electric. He spoke, and his carefully chosen words flew like swift arrows and found their mark. The great man, a spokesman for God, a prophet, was warning and condemning. The crowd became restless, shifting positions, clenching their fists, and murmuring. Some agreed with his message and nodding their heads and weeping softly. But most were angry, and they began to shout back insults and threats. Such was the life of a prophet. Isaiah wrote from about 740 BC to about 681 BC or BCE. Just an interesting side note that the book of Isaiah is divided like the Bible into two sections. The Old Testament has 39 books. Unlike the Old Testament, the first half of the book of Isaiah, chapters 1 to 39, contains scathing denunciations and pronouncements as he calls Judah, Israel, and the surrounding nations to repent of their sins. But like the New Testament and its 27 books, the last 27 chapters of Isaiah, 40 to 66, however, are filled with consolation and hope as Isaiah unfolds God's promise of future blessings through his Messiah. Throughout this section is Isaiah's and God's words of comfort. Israel will be released from captivity. The future Redeemer is coming. We know who that is, don't we? And the future kingdom when Jesus comes again. Now, the book is a collection of oracles, of prophecies and reports, but the common theme is the message of salvation. The prophet Isaiah points out that there is no hope in anything that was made by people. The northern kingdom of Israel had been carried into captivity in 722 BC, and the kingdom of Judah was in the middle of idolatry and evil. The kingdom of Assyria had dominated the area, and the kingdom of Babylon was gaining power and would replace Assyria as the dominant threat. In view of the fast-changing international scene, the children of Israel would be concerned about their lot in life. What would become of the promises of God? How could the chosen people survive, let alone be a theocracy again? This was the environment in which the prophet Isaiah prophesied to the children of God. Isaiah is the messenger of the message of salvation. His name means salvation of Yahweh, or Yah saves. This was not a peaceful time, nor a time when hopefulness abounds. We have invasions, captivity, exile. Who is in control of Israel? Assyria? Babylon? I know the verse given for me this week was a single verse, but let me read it in context. Isaiah 40 from the New Living Translation, starting with verse 1. And here God is speaking to the people through Isaiah. Comfort. Comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem. Tell her that her sad days are gone and her sins are pardoned. Yes, the Lord has punished her twice over for all her sins. Listen, it is the voice of someone shouting, clear the way through the wilderness for the Lord. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our God. Fill in the valleys and level the mountains and the hills. Straighten the curves and smooth out the rough places. Then the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all the people will see it together. The Lord has spoken. Then a voice said, shout. I asked, what should I shout? Shout that people are like the grass. Their beauty fades as quickly as the flowers in the fields. The grass withers and the flowers fade beneath the breath of the Lord. And so it is with people. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever. O Zion, messenger of good news, shout from the mountaintops. Shout it louder, O Jerusalem. Shout and do not be afraid. Tell the towns of Judah, your God is coming. Yes, the sovereign Lord is coming in power. He will rule with a powerful arm. See, he brings his reward with him as he comes. He will feed his flock like a shepherd, and he will carry the lambs in his arms. Holding them close to his heart, he will gently lead the mother sheep with their young. The Lord has no equal. Who else has held the oceans in his hand? Who has measured off the heavens with his fingers? Who else knows the weight of the earth, or has weighed the mountains and hills on a scale? Who is able to advise the Spirit of the Lord? Who knows enough to give him advice or teach him? The Lord has never needed anyone's advice. Does he need instruction about what is good? Did someone teach him what is right or show him the path of justice? No. For all the nations of the world are but a drop in the bucket. They're nothing more than dust on the scales. He picks up the whole earth as though it were a grain of sand. All the wood in Lebanon's forest, all the Lebanon's animals would not be enough to make a burnt offering worthy of our God. The nations of the world are like nothing to him. In his eyes, they are less than nothing, mere emptiness and froth. To whom can you compare God? You can't compare God. What image can you find to resemble him? Can he be compared to an idol formed in a mold and overlaid with gold and decorated with silver chains? Or if people are too poor for that, they might at least choose a wood that won't decay and a skilled craftsman to carve an image that won't rot or fall down. Haven't you heard? Don't you understand? Are you deaf to the words that he gave before the world began? Are you so ignorant? God sits above the circle of the earth. The people below are like grasshoppers to him, and he spreads out the heavens like a curtain and makes his tent for them. He judges the great people of the world and brings them all to nothing. They hardly get started, barely taking root, when he blows on them, and they wither. The wind carries them off like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal? Asks the Holy One. Look up to the heavens. Who created all the stars? He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each one by name. Because of his great power and incomparable strength, not a single one is missing. O Jacob, how can you say the Lord does not see your troubles? O Israel, how can you say God ignores your rights? Have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. And verse 31. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary, and they will walk and not faint. Let me read that verse again from Jennifer. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. Or those who trust in the Lord, their strength shall be renewed. They shall soar high on wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary, and they will walk and not faint. Years ago, I used to be a runner, believe it or not. And one of the races that I ran with my friend Leonard, was the Wharf to Wharf race in Santa Cruz. It went from the Santa Cruz Municipal Pier to the Capitola Municipal Pier. Just happened to be 10 kilometers. So it was a 10-kilometer race. Leonard and I, we weren't contenders, but we were running behind this guy who had a shirt on. And on the back, it said, "Those that trust in the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary, and they will walk and not faint." Thank you for your time this morning. Thank you, Jennifer, for the verse. And again, if you'd like to leave a verse for me, just put it right down there in the comments. Thank you. Have a great and blessed day as we end the first week of 2021.